Hello friends! Alright, we're gonna try something new today. So instead of you seeing my face and all, the fun expressions I make and everything, you're gonna read the book along with me. So the last time that we left off, we were talking about how Amy Ann was collecting the books that were on the banned book list. And she had created her own book club, per se, with a couple of her friends. She had a shelf in her locker that she cleared out that she started stacking and storing all of these books in. I had also talked about how Amy Ann was kind of being deceitful and just, doing and saying things, reading things that she was told not to. So we're going to find out today what happens in this chapter called Violent Criminals. Standing next to my locker a few days later was a third grader wearing a tan trench coat with the lapels turned up. He wore sunglasses, and his brown hair looked like a comb hadn't touched the kid's head in days. "Psst, psst," he said. "You Amy Ann Ollinger?" "Yeah, who are you?" "Weeb," he said. "Nikolai Weeb." He leaned closer. "The red dog barks at midnight," he whispered. "What?" He frowned. "It's a code, a spy code." "Well, it's not a very good code if only one of us knows it," I thought, but I didn't say it. The boy sighed. "I'm looking for a book. A secret book. A spy book." "You mean Harriet the spy?" "Shh," he said. He glanced around like there were spies everywhere. "It's checked out," I told him. I opened the BBLL, the banned books locker library, to show him. There were only 6 books left on the shelf. Everything else had been checked out, and even after I'd added another 12 books from Mrs. Spencer's new list, mostly with Danny's help, he knew all kinds of people who had copies at home. "I can put you on the list," I told Nikolai. I pulled out the clipboard where people could reserve a book and had him add his name. Whenever somebody turned a book back in, I went through the list and found the next person who wanted it, then left them a note in their locker mailbox saying it was ready for pickup. My own locker mailbox had 3 notes in it, all from different people in my class, and all asking to read one of the books. My locker mailbox was getting a lot more use lately. "You should have a list," Nikolai said, "of all the books you have, so people know what they can check out." "And do what? Hang it on the outside of my locker with a sign that says, 'Here are all the books we're not supposed to read that I have hidden in my locker'?" I wanted to say. Instead, I said, "I'll think about it." Nikolai pulled a pin out of his pocket and talked into it like it was a microphone. "Abort mission. Repeat, abort mission. Alert Ukrainian intelligence. The package is not in the locker. Repeat, not in the locker." I closed my locker and saw someone watching me from behind. Another locker door further down the hall. It was Trey. There really were spies everywhere. "Hey, I got you a new one," Danny said, making me jump. Nikolai was gone, and Danny stood in his place. With one hand, he combed his helmet of hair into the exact place he wanted it, and with the other, he slid me a beat-up old paperback copy of My Brother Sam is Dead. I squeaked and stuck the book up under my shirt. I glanced down the hall. Trey was gone. Had he seen Danny give me the book? If he did, the first thing he would do is run and tell his mom. I popped one of my braids in my mouth and sucked on it. So this is a sign of symbolism, right? We've talked about how symbolism represents something else. Whenever she is constantly sucking on her braids, 1, it's gross, right? You don't want to eat your hair, nasty. But 2, it tells us that she's nervous. So whenever she is saying that she was worried that Trey had seen Danny give her the book that was on the banned book list, she got really nervous and popped her hair into her mouth and started sucking on it. "Sorry," Danny said. "I thought you'd be excited." "I am. Yeah, I'm sorry," I told him. I pulled the book out and put it quickly into my locker. It was one of the books off Miss Spencer's new list that I didn't have. "Javi's old brother had a copy of it," Danny said. "He thinks he might have Bridge to Terabithia around somewhere too." He's going to look for it this weekend. I'll let you know. I didn't understand why Danny was so into finding all the books on the list. He wasn't interested in reading them all like I was. I thanked him anyway and put the book in my locker. We had to get to class. Have you read any of the Wayside School books? I asked him. I think you'd like them. They're really funny. Danny flicked his hair into place. Cool. I didn't know you had those. I'll pick one up after school. We went into Mr. Vaughn's class and he walked with me to my desk. Rebecca was already sitting in the desk beside mine. Hey, you've got so many books now, you need a list, Danny whispered. You know, to let everybody know what's in the BBLL. I know, I told him. Nikolai said the same thing. Right, and what's she supposed to do, tape it to the front of her locker? Rebecca said. She gets caught and it's lawsuit time. I felt the quicksand opening up underneath me. Lawsuit time? Sure, from all the parents whose children you've corrupted. Why do you think they banned all those books to begin with? Because the parents think they're going to rot our brains and turn us into violent criminals. Danny ran his fingers through his hair. I don't know about you guys, but ever since I read Wait Till Helen Comes, I've been thinking about worshiping Satan. He's got some really good ideas. Don't joke, this is serious, I said. Is this serious, Rebecca? Aw, come on, Danny said. Nobody's gonna sue you. Suspend you maybe, but not sue you. Definitely suspended, Rebecca agreed. The quicksand turned into water and I sank to the bottom, desk and all. Juvenile delinquents. All through math, I sucked on my braids and imagined all the awful things that would happen if I was caught with all those books in my locker. Every parent at Shelburne Elementary would line up to sue me. My dad would lose his bricklaying business. My mom would lose her job. We'd have to sell our house and move to a different city. My sisters would have to be sold to medical research companies. Well, it wouldn't all be so bad. Why do you think she said that? Do you remember how horrible and annoying she said that her little sisters were? One of them, acts like she's a pony. That's how she, lives, is like a pony. Interesting. And the other one is so obsessed with ballet and herself that she always tries to get Amy Ann in trouble. I was overreacting, and I knew it. What I was doing wasn't exactly illegal. The school board had just said that Mrs. Jones couldn't loan out these books. They didn't say I couldn't. I still wanted to loan out the books, but I didn't want to get caught. So how was I going to let people know what books I had to check out? If I didn't have a way of telling the other kids what I had, they wouldn't know to ask for them, and nobody would read them. Then it would all be for nothing. And then I had it. Why not tape a list of the books I had on my locker? I just didn't have to call it that. During language arts, I used one of the computers to type up a list. And then I taped it to my locker after school. At the top, in big capital letters, it said, Books banned at Shelburne Elementary. Underneath that was every one of the books Mrs. Spencer and the other parents had taken off the shelves, with a little dot from a green magic marker next to all the books I had in the BBLL. Once everybody knew how to read it, I could just add a new green dot to any book that got added. Presto! Looking at the list again, I realized there were still a lot of books I needed to add, and Danny was running out of people to ask. What I needed was money to buy books with. Bake sale, Rebecca said. Of course, I said, a bake sale. Every time I wanted to raise money to help build a well in Africa or to support the Red Cross after a hurricane, we had a bake sale. All I had to do was tell my dad we were having another bake sale at school, and he picked up a brownie mix at the store without even asking what it was for. Same with Rebecca's mom. Rebecca and I set up our plastic-wrapped brownies and chocolate chip cookies in a basket on a table in the cafeteria and started raking in the moolah. The first day we made $7.50. I was counting out the quarters again when Rebecca nudged me. What? I said. Rebecca nudged me again, harder. What? I said. I looked up and saw Principal Banana coming right for us. Her name isn't Principal Banana, of course. It's Banazwiski. But none of the kindergartners could ever pronounce her name right, so she let them call her Principal Banana. As fourth graders, we were supposed to call her Principal Banazwiski, though. Principal Banazwiski reminded me of a police detective from one of those TV mysteries. She wore gray suits and black leather shoes, and she always had a walkie-talkie on her belt, and her school ID in a plastic holder pinned to her jacket like a badge. I expected her to yell, "Freeze, punk! You're under arrest!" every time I saw her. Instead, she looked over our selection of desserts and said, "Looks good, ladies. What's the cause?" "The what?" I said. "What are you raising money for?" Principal Benazeski asked. Her walkie-talkie squawked and she turned down the volume on it without looking at it. I pulled a braid around and chewed on it. Another sign of symbolism. What is she feeling? Nervous. I said. I looked at Rebecca. Her eyes went wide and she shook her head. I stammered. We couldn't tell her what our bake sale was really for. I was going to have to make something up. What had our last bake sale been for? I couldn't remember. With Detective Benazeski staring at me, I couldn't think of anything. "We're raising money for books," I said. "Books?" Principal Benazeski asked. Rebecca gawked at me. "Books for prisoners," I said. "For them to read. In prison." Rebecca closed her eyes. I think she might have been praying. "Books for prisoners?" Principal Benazeski asked. "Kid prisoners. Kids our age who are in jail." Under the table, Rebecca started hitting me in the leg with her fist. "You mean juvenile delinquents?" Principal Benazeski asked. "Yes," I said. "Juvenile delinquents. We're raising money to buy books for juvenile delinquents." That sounded good. "Well, that's very noble of you," Principal Benazeski asked. "I'll take 2 cookies." She handed over $1 and I had to kick Rebecca to get her to open her eyes and take the money. Rebecca turned on me the second Principal Benazeski was gone. "Books for kid prisoners to read in jail?" she said. "Well, what was I supposed to say?" I said. "We're raising money for the homeless, or the animal shelter, or the food bank." "Where were all these great ideas when she was asking?" I said. "Well, I thought you would think of something else besides, what we're actually raising money for," Rebecca said. "Oh yeah?" I said. "Well, you just wait till Helen comes, and then you'll be sorry for picking on me." Rebecca and I busted out laughing. "I'm sorry, all right," I said. "Every time I see Principal Banana, I think of the police. It makes me nervous." "Well, at least you didn't lie to her," Rebecca said. "We are raising money to buy books for juvenile delinquents. Us." Let's stop and think. What does she mean? Juvenile delinquents. Us. So when I'm looking right here, buying books for juvenile delinquents, us. What does that mean? Why is she calling herself a juvenile delinquent? Remember, through that whole situation, Principal Banana had said that juvenile delinquents were kids in jail. So these would be like bad kids. Why is Rebecca comparing herself and Amy Ann to juvenile delinquents?
Hey guys, thanks for checking in and watching and listening to the book as we go on. Make sure that you're washing your hands and staying safe and staying clean during this time, and we'll see you when we see you. Bye.